Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Update season has finally started. We got the community update and now we have our first devblog on the same day. This is for the Stalingrad. This is a battle cruiser which is coming to the Russian tech tree at rank 6 and is going to come along with a bunch of other really cool naval vehicles this update, and also a really cool set of mechanics when it comes to damage. If you want to find out about any of that stuff, have a look at the videos from earlier today. But in this video, we're going to have a look at the Stalingrad, a battle cruiser that was never given any life in the real world, but at least in War Thunder, it is able to grace the seas. We'll have a look at its history, we'll also talk about its gameplay and its major factors. And as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. On the 15th of May, 1941, the People's Commissariat of the USSR Navy approved the design specifications for the Project 82 heavy cruiser. The ship was conceived as a multi-purpose vessel capable of engaging heavy enemy ships, supporting light naval forces, laying minefields, and also suppressing coastal batteries. The cruiser was initially planned to be armed with 8 203mm guns, powerful anti-aircraft weaponry, torpedo tubes, and also 4 reconnaissance aircraft. During the initial review of the plans, however, the 203mm main battery was considered by many specialists to be insufficient for a ship of such size. Increasing the main caliber would give the ship superiority over foreign cruisers designed under the Washington Naval Treaty, which was an appealing concept for the designers. However, work on these revisions was interrupted by Operation Barbarossa, marking the start of the Second World War for the USSR and necessitating an immediate shift in priority. The project was revisited later in 1943 after the course of the war started to turn more favorable, and the duties and specifications of Stalingrad were further refined. The first revision saw the planned firepower increased to 220mm and later again to 305mm in 1947, after the government expressed these desires for more powerful armament. It was with this caliber that the final design was approved on the 31st of August 1948. The lead ship, Stalingrad, was laid down in Nikolaev on the 31st of December 1951, with construction on 2 more cruisers beginning the following year. However, in 1953, following the death of J.V. Stalin, all work on the cruisers was halted, and the partially constructed hulls were dismantled on the slipways. The hull of Stalingrad itself was used as a training target for various weapon systems, including early missiles. So the Stalingrad joins a Russian Blue Water Fleet tree which already has a bunch of what we'll class as project ships, basically ones that were never built, and that is what the Stalingrad is. You have stuff like the Kronstadt already in the game, you also have stuff like the Sovietsky Soyuz, which, let's be honest, have had favorable looks on them in terms of them being built on design specifications that in real life they were never ever going to actually hit. The Stalingrad is also in the same boat. It is getting access to all of its available stuff, even though it was never built in real life. As a battle cruiser, it doesn't have as crazy armor, but it does have a very nice armament. This vehicle has access to 9 305mm guns in sets of 3, so you have 2 triple mounts on the front of it and 1 triple mount on the back. It also gets access to a bunch of different weapons all over the machine. It has 6 twin 130mm dual-purpose guns, which generally feel pretty nice if you've ever used them on the post-war Soviet destroyers. You also have the 24 45mm guns in 6 quad mounts, which is just insane, and then also 40 25mm in 10 quad mounts too, giving it a decent amount of AA firepower. So this vehicle isn't just going to have a good main battery, it's also going to have a good secondary battery, which will be used to take out many different vehicles. When it comes to the Stalingrad itself though, it is a battle cruiser, and if you remember, the whole point of a battle cruiser was to have the armament of a battleship and then a bit more speed, but a lot lighter, so therefore less armor. So it punches hard but it also gets punched very hard itself. Very much a knockout punch idea, an idea which kind of disappeared after the Second World War. So the Stalingrad itself, it can go 65 kilometers an hour, which is about 35 knots, which it never did in real life. And also, the protection itself isn't exactly great. Its main belt armor is only 180 millimeters thick, which is not exactly good. And the turrets only have about 240 millimeters of armor on the front too. As a person who started getting into battle cruisers in terms of War Thunder, I haven't found them really that fun, because basically what ends up happening is you go up against battleships which have your same guns, and also they have access to better armor than you. So you can't defend against them, but they can defend against you, and it just feels like kind of an unfair matchup. The thing that will help the Stalingrad though is we have had recently in Naval a massive BR decompression over this last year. So 8.7 is a thing now. That means that the higher echelons of Naval, they do actually have much bigger gaps between the vehicles, and this has helped them immensely, and I think generally will hopefully in the future help with vehicles like the Stalingrad to kind of feel their place. Now, this vehicle is just another project ship, and I know people don't like these. I personally am not a fan of fake vehicles in the game, just because of the fact that they usually massively outperform what they would have done in real life. And the Stalingrad, at least in terms of fake vehicles, is in a much better state because it isn't just drastically overpowered. Like, all of the things I feel like on the Stalingrad could have been built, and the only issue with it is the fact that it was a project that was very much pushed by Stalin himself. And when he died, they were like, we don't really need these things, and therefore they just weren't built. If you want to see a fantastic movie, by the way, I highly recommend The Death of Stalin. It's a great comedic effect, and it's just got a lot of very famous actors in it, and they're all incredibly fun to watch. It is a bit of a parody, a bit of a slapstick setup, but it's generally worth it. So, when it comes to this vehicle, will it be useful in the meta? Yes, of course it will be. It's Russian, and as we've seen with many Russian ships, they have forced them into the meta many times over. There are gaps when it comes to the general tech trees for the Russians, but if you have a look at the Kronstadt itself, which pretty much has the same armament as this vehicle, and also has a little bit more armor than it, around 7.3, this could easily fit in the 7.0, 7.3 area and bolster that lineup that you see there. The issue that Russia has is they don't really have anything between that 7, 7, 8, 7 area, so it doesn't really help backing up the Soyuz. But turns out the Soyuz doesn't really need backup because they've given it a bunch of stats that it would never have in real life, and generally just made it incredibly overpowered. So hopefully, with the Stalingrad, what we will see is a vehicle that will add to what is already there, giving people a little bit of a different playstyle and a little bit of fun in different areas. Look forward to more devlogs coming pretty quickly. Obviously, the December update is quite close already, so it's going to be a fast fire few weeks, and hopefully you can tune in and see all of the stuff that happens. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecovo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.